Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Titanium Man Garage, and working on my latest project. This is the 2002 Polaris Sportsman 500 with the 425 500 conversion I got going on. So I thought I'd go over this because I haven't really done a video on no spark issues. So what I got going on here is the guy had the CDI on this thing, and that's the square boxy one, and he had it kind of blurred up with the wiring here. I don't know what he was trying to do. So what I ended up doing was I went off of what he did. I grabbed a stator from a 99 and wired it up to it. Thought maybe that would work, and it didn't. So I'm trying to narrow down what it is. I first originally thought, okay, well, maybe it's the coil. I unplugged the black wire. You can do that because sometimes the run stop kill switch will cause a no spark issue. So you can unplug the black wire, bypass it, and you'll get spark to the spark plug. So another issue is if you've got your pull rope cover, and if you or the last guy that owned it broke the pull rope while you're trying to pull start it, a lot of times these, the pickup coil gets bent from the rope or the spring or anything that breaks in there, and that'll bend out, and when that little nub on the flywheel goes past that read spark, it won't read it in time or read it at all, or the wires going to it might get broken or chewed up and it won't read at all. So that's another one of the issues, is a no spark issue. And also, of course, the stator. If the stator's chewed up, at least I wish I would have brought some stators out here so you could look at it. Actually, once I pull the flywheel off of this, you'll see the stator's a little bit worn. Not bad, but so what I'm going to do is go back to OEM. Got myself some goodies here. I've got the correct CDI box. Goes in it for 2002. I went on eBay and bought a stator from a 2002. I think it's Dan's Snow Wheel Salvage. I'm plugging a name, even though I shouldn't, but he sells a lot of good quality parts. You can see the ends around the stator coils. Everything is very clean. For 2002, that looks really nice. All the wiring is good. Nothing's corroded. That's things I look for. And of course, this isn't bent. Where on the machine, this looks like it's tweaked out a little bit. So that might be my issue, but the fact that everything else is boogered up front, I'm just going to replace everything just to make it correct. Another issue you want to look for is coming off your coil. You got to remove your gas tank to get to that. This wire running down and around sometimes likes to get damaged. I have this unplugged right now. But make sure, you cut the end of this if it's old and plug it back in, because sometimes you're not getting contact from your spark plug wire into your boot. And of course, you're not going to get spark. So what I'm going to do is, usually most of my videos, I already have the flywheel pulled off, and I've had subscribers say, hey, how hard is it to get that flywheel off? I'm going to show you, even this is a brand new flywheel, I'm going to show you a couple tips or tricks, what you can do and what you can do not to damage your flywheel, especially if you've got the older style with the magnets inside of the flywheel, because those like to break off while you're removing this. But yeah, I paid $60 for this brand new flywheel. Figured I'd give it a shot, see if it's good as OEM. So far, it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it so far. So I'm gonna go ahead, pull that flywheel off, show you what it takes. And I'm gonna remove the stator, and we'll go from there. I'll show you how I do everything. All right, as you see, I already have the flywheel puller hooked up. So when you install this, you want to make sure that this rod going in is perfectly straight. If it's not straight, if it's cocked a little bit, you're going to be fighting the flywheel against the inner shaft on the crank. go ahead and, of course I have the nut and the washer already moved. I'm just going to ream this in and hopefully it pops right out. There we go. Now the thing I was going to show you is after reefing on it for a while and it wouldn't pop like that, take a hammer and pound right at the end of the shaft. And it'll vibrate right through and it'll pop this loose. I'm going to pull that off. And I'll show you what my stator looks like. So you see how this is kind of bent out a little bit? I'm actually kind of wondering if that's my issue. It's not flush. These are a little worn, they're not horrible. So what you do next is you take a 10 millimeter socket, pull all these bolts out, and this should pop right out. So I'm gonna do that. All right, here we go. Yeah, keep in mind that there's a seal on there, so oil might trickle out a little bit. And like I was saying before, I could try and straighten that out. Maybe that would cure my problem. But I'm really not liking the stator and the way it's wired up. So I'm gonna go ahead and just replace the whole thing. Pull your wire up here. It should pull right out. A little oil trickling out of your pole, that's okay. And then I'll go to the top and disconnect everything and get the stator wire completely out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and remove my ground wires to my CDI box. That's at the bottom of the coil. It's a 3/8 inch, and I'm not exactly sure what size that other bolt is. I just use an 8 millimeter on it and it comes out. So I'm going to take that off, unplug the CDI, unplug the wires going to the rectifier, and then pull my wiring completely out and put the new wiring in. Alright, before I install this new stator, keep in mind that you have a little rubber seal that goes completely around. Make sure that's not damaged. You also have this little orange rubber ring, and that seals to the block. Otherwise you're gonna have oil leaking issues, and you don't want that. I'm gonna clean this all up nice, maybe smear a little oil just so the gasket slides on nice when I install it. Also inspect your woodruff key. Make sure that's good, it's not chewed up, because if for some reason that were to break, and also make sure it's in place and you didn't lose it. If that were to break, you're gonna spin your flywheel, and you could possibly chew up your flywheel. All right, here we go. So what I like to do is try to get the wiring through first, get that out of the way, so it's not in my way. There we go. Make sure your surfaces are clean. This in first. While I'm installing this, I'm going to push the wires down. You don't want to use it mess up. Rock it back and forth. Here, the seats. And I want to show you something else. So on your stator plate, you have a mark right here. You always want to line that up with here. I tend to leave it just a hair before it, and I think that's the way it's set from factory. And I'm going to put Loctite on all these bolts and put them in and install the flywheel. Make sure you have this in the right position. There. Now I have seen these bolts back out, so it is pretty important that you use Loctite. Make sure you're not pinching any of your wires here. And if it is a used stator like this, you can also kind of see where the old bolts were sitting and kind of get an idea of exactly where you're supposed to position the plate for the block. I've rebuilt enough of these engines where I know exactly where it goes. It's just a hair before that mark on the block. I don't know why they set it that way, if it's a little more retarded. Timing, I mean. Let me grab my gun, I'll snug that up. And then I'll do this in a crisscross pattern. If you're not perfectly flush on, it'll cock and it'll finally pop into place. Just double checking everything's sitting. I don't like that, I'm gonna move it a little bit. Moved on me just a hair on the first bolt in. Good there. The wiring's not pinched, we're good there. Put the flywheel on. Gotta take the little hardware off the flywheel, the flywheel puller, so just give me a minute. And for those of you that don't know, there's a T right on top of the flywheel. I don't know if you can see that right there. And if that T is lined up with this bolt over here in the case, pretty much guess you're at top dead center. Line this up. Just give you an idea. The T lined right up here. I know I'm at top dead center, but now the magnet's going to want to spin it. So double check my Woodruff key. That looks good. My washer on. And I like putting Loctite on the nut too, only because you don't torque this right, and you just use the gun and give it a couple ugga-duggas. It could spin loose on you, and you're buying a Woodruff key and possibly a new flywheel. Okay, and that gets torqued, I believe it's like 45 to 49 foot-pounds, which I'm going to check. All right, well, my camera cut out when I grabbed the torque wrench, but so the T is right here. Usually that lines up with this bolt. It's a pretty good indication that you're at top dead center without the flywheel cover on, or pull start cover on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that pull start cover on. So as you can see, I've got the new CDI box installed. Just pull that screw out, the bracket back on, plug it back in. Make sure your ground wires are hooked up to your coil. Plug in your coil wire. Hard to do one hand. There you go. Your black wire going to your run kill switch. And then we're gonna see if this thing's got spark. Also, don't forget to plug in your wires for your rectifier that's down here. There is a way these need to be plugged in. The white with the red tracer goes to the white, or sorry, yellow with the red tracer goes to the yellow. There's the yellow and black, and that'll go to the yellow and black, or just yellow. I also snipped the end of the spark plug wire and installed the boot. And let's see if I can get a good reading one-handed here with, if I hit the key. I'll show you if I got spark. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but I do have spark. So I am good to go. Also, you want to make sure you're, and I have to say this because people have forgotten, the run stop kill switch is in the run position. I wouldn't believe how many people I've talked to that are like, hey, I can't get this thing started, and they didn't have it in the run position. The other thing you can do is these older sportsmen are notorious for ground issues. So if you're having electrical issues, go ahead, utilize this extra ground wire that's coming out, ground it to the frame. Same with your four-wheel drive. Those wires usually don't like to work properly, so go ahead and add a ground wire to here, to the frame. A lot of times you'll get your four-wheel drive working just off of that. So guys, I hope you like this little video. Hope that answers some of your problems or some of your questions. And like always, till next time.